One entrance, 10 minutes, over 1,000 dead. And the British general who ordered it received a jeweled sword inscribed with the words, "Savior of the Punjab." The British public raised the equivalent of millions of pounds for him as a reward. He was never charged, never imprisoned, never prosecuted. He died in his bed, and Britain called what he did a tragedy, not a massacre, not a war crime, a tragedy, as if 1,000 people dying in an enclosed garden while soldiers fired 1,650 rounds into them was something that simply happened, rather than something that was ordered. April 13, 1919. Amritsar, the Punjab, British India. The Sikh festival of Baisakhi had brought tens of thousands of people to the holy city. Pilgrims, families, traders, people who had traveled from villages across the region to celebrate one of the most sacred days in the Sikh calendar. Thousands of them gathered at Jallianwala Bagh, a large enclosed garden in the heart of Amritsar, surrounded on all sides by the high walls of surrounding buildings. One narrow entrance, wide enough for two people to walk through side by side. Some of the people inside were there for the festival. Some were there for a political meeting protesting the Rowlatt Act, a British law that allowed Indians to be imprisoned without trial for up to 2 years. None of them were armed. None of them were soldiers. None of them had any way of knowing what was about to walk through that entrance. Brigadier General Reginald Dyer arrived at Jallianwala Bagh at approximately 5:30 in the afternoon with 90 soldiers of the British Indian Army. He did not announce his presence. He did not order the crowd to disperse. He did not fire a warning shot. He positioned his soldiers in a firing line facing the densest part of the crowd, and he gave the order to fire 1,650 rounds. In 10 minutes, the crowd had nowhere to go. The walls were too high to climb quickly. The entrance was blocked by the soldiers. People ran toward the walls and were shot running. People fell and were trampled. People jumped into the only well inside the garden to escape the bullets. Over 120 bodies were recovered from that well. People drowned in a well to escape British bullets at a religious festival. Dyer later testified before the official inquiry. He said he had not warned the crowd to disperse before opening fire because he considered a warning unnecessary. He said he had not arranged any medical assistance for the wounded after the shooting stopped because he did not consider it his job. He said he had imposed a curfew immediately after the massacre specifically to prevent people from coming to help the dying. He said if he had been able to bring his 2 armored cars through the entrance, he would have used the machine guns on them as well. He said he would have fired longer and killed more people if he had not been concerned about running low on ammunition. These were not allegations made against him. These were his own words, spoken under oath, before an official British inquiry. And the British establishment still called him the savior of the Punjab. The official British Indian government death toll was 379. The Indian National Congress conducted its own investigation. Their estimate was over 1,000 dead. The discrepancy has never been resolved, because Dyer imposed a strict curfew after the massacre that prevented people from retrieving bodies before they could be counted. The wounded who could not move in the garden, the people who lay there as the sun went down, many of them died in that garden overnight, because no medical help was permitted to enter, because Dyer's curfew prevented it. The physical evidence is still in the walls of Jallianwala Bagh today. If you visit the memorial, you can put your hand in the bullet holes. Dozens of them, at different heights. The marks of where 1,650 rounds hit the walls behind the people who were running. The evidence preserved in plaster and brick for over 100 years. Dyer was not the only person responsible. Lieutenant Governor of the Punjab Michael O'Dwyer was the senior British civilian authority who endorsed the massacre after it occurred. O'Dwyer publicly defended the action, called it the right thing to do, was celebrated alongside Dyer in British ruling class circles. The Morning Post, a prominent British newspaper, raised over £26,000 for Dyer. The House of Lords voted to support him. The British establishment closed ranks around a man who had ordered soldiers to fire 1,650 rounds into a crowd that included women and children and pilgrims at a religious festival. They gave him a jeweled sword. They gave him money. They gave him the word savior of the Punjab. 21 years later, a Punjabi man named Udham Singh walked into a public meeting in London. He had spent 21 years in Britain, working, waiting, planning. On March 13, 1940, he shot and killed Michael O'Dwyer, the man who had endorsed the Amritsar massacre. at Caxton Hall in London. He made no attempt to escape. At his trial, he said he had done it to avenge the people who had been killed in Jallianwala Bagh. He was convicted and hanged in July 1940. Reginald Dyer never faced justice. He died of natural causes in 1927. Michael O'Dwyer died by an assassin's bullet 21 years after the massacre. Dyer died in his bed 8 years after it. Neither was ever charged with a crime by the British government. In 1997, Queen Elizabeth II visited the Jallianwala Bagh Memorial. She bowed her head. She described it as a distressing example of our past history. No apology. In 2019, on the centenary of the massacre, British Prime Minister Theresa May stood in the same garden. She called it a shameful scar on British Indian history. She expressed deep regret. No formal apology. The British government has expressed regret for the Amritsar massacre in careful diplomatic language for over 25 years. It has never issued a full formal apology. It has never paid a single pound in reparations to the families of those killed. It has never returned the jeweled sword. Now I need to ask you directly, did you know this story before today? Have you ever heard the name Jallianwala Bagh? Did your school teach you that the British general who ordered this massacre was celebrated as a hero and given a jeweled sword by the British public? Drop your answer in the comments right now. And tell me, where in the world are you watching from? Because this story happened in India, but it belongs to every person who has ever been told that the British Empire brought civilization to the people it colonized. Show them Jallianwala Bagh. Show them 1,650 rounds in 10 minutes. Show them the jeweled sword. Show them the regret without apology that has lasted over 100 years. Share this video right now. Someone in your life thinks Britain has fully reckoned with its colonial history. One share puts this in front of thousands of people who have never stood in a garden where the bullet holes are still in the walls. Follow The Odd Archive on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. Search official The Odd Archive. Follow us on TikTok. Search official The Odd Archive. Because the next story we are dropping involves a government that committed something so methodical and so documented that the perpetrators kept their own records of every step. And those records are what we are using against them.
The bullet-marked walls of Jallianwala Bagh, April 14, 1919. The physical evidence remains, a silent witness to the tragedy.